The town of Crestwood was small enough that everyone knew each other's routines, but big enough that secrets could grow like weeds in the dark. For decades, people believed Crestwood was quiet, peaceful, and safe, until the night a scream shattered the silence and changed the town forever. It wasn't just a murder. It wasn't just a crime. It was something so disturbing, so twisted, that even the seasoned detectives who worked the case could never forget it. The story begins with Elena Marsh, a 28-year-old social worker known for her kind heart and calm voice. She spent her life helping troubled families, broken homes, and kids living in fear. But no one knew that the danger she tried to rescue others from was quietly circling her own life. On the night of August 17, Elena didn't show up for work. Her coworker assumed she overslept. But when she didn't answer calls, didn't return texts, and didn't respond to a home visit, the worry spread quickly. Detective Aaron Cole was assigned to conduct a routine wellness check. He didn't expect anything serious. But the moment he approached Elena's apartment, he felt something was wrong. Her door was slightly open, just enough to show darkness inside, just enough to let fear bleed through the cracks. He knocked once, twice. No answer. With a deep breath, he pushed the door open. Inside, the apartment looked untouched at first, until his flashlight swept across the living room floor. There, lying face down, motionless, was Elena Marsh. The scene was so silent that even Cole's heartbeat felt too loud. Her body showed no signs of struggle, no wounds, no blood. Just stillness. Cold, unsettling stillness. But the real terror wasn't in how she died, it was in what they found next. On the table beside her body was a leather notebook. At first glance, it looked like a simple journal. But inside, it was filled with names. Dozens of them, all written in Elena's handwriting. Some were scribbled, some circled, some crossed out, and beside every name was a date. Most dates were from years ago. Some from months ago. But one date stood out, a date that hadn't arrived yet. A date written beside a name with a red pen. The name was Elena Marsh. The date was August 17, the very night she was found dead. Detective Cole froze. Why would she write her own name? Why the date? Why like a prediction? His instincts told him this was no suicide. No coincidence. Something else was hidden here. Something that connected the names, the dates, and the terror slowly unfolding. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered something chilling. Every name in the notebook belonged to a person who had died in Crestwood over the past 15 years. Some deaths were accidents, some unsolved, some dismissed entirely. But they all had one thing in common: Elena had worked with every single person on that list. She had visited their homes, counseled their children, reported their cases. Was she documenting a pattern? Was she stalking them? Was she trying to protect them? Then came the twist no one expected. Fingerprints found inside the notebook belonged to a man named Victor Hale, a former client of Elena. Victor had been one of her most difficult cases, a man with a history of violence, paranoia, and delusions. Elena tried to help him for months, but eventually he was hospitalized and later disappeared without a trace. Police eventually assumed he left town. But Victor never left. Surveillance footage from the week before Elena's death showed a figure lurking near her apartment gates, hiding behind bushes, watching her windows. When detectives ran the footage through enhancement software, the face was unmistakable. Victor Hale was back in Crestwood. And he wasn't alone. Inside Elena's bedroom, hidden under her bed, they discovered something far more disturbing than the notebook. A small wooden box. Inside it, dozens of photographs. Not of Elena's clients, not of Victor, but of Elena herself. Every photo was taken without her knowledge, her walking to work, buying groceries, sitting in the park, sleeping in her room. Every photograph was dated, and behind each photo was a small handwritten note. She doesn't see me. She shouldn't leave him. She is mine to protect. She belongs on the list. Detectives realized that the notebook wasn't written by Elena, it was written for her, manipulated over months. Victor had been inside her home many times without her knowing. He monitored her, followed her, documented her routine, and inserted his own paranoia into her life. But then one detail changed the entire direction of the investigation. A neighbor reported hearing two voices the night Elena died, not a scream, but a whispered argument. One voice was Elena's. The other was unfamiliar, but calm. Almost soothing. Investigators checked door-to-door interviews again, and one resident remembered seeing a second figure on the stairwell. A tall man wearing a hooded jacket, carrying something wrapped in cloth. When they checked building maintenance logs, they discovered that one resident had recently requested access to the boiler room, a resident living on the top floor. Apartment 4B. Registered under a fake name. A name traced back to Victor Hale. Police raided the apartment. What they found inside would haunt them forever. The living room walls were covered in newspaper clippings, photos, documents, all related to Elena's clients. On one wall was a timeline connecting deaths, patterns, and handwritten notes detailing how each person failed, betrayed, or ignored important warnings. In the center of the wall was a large circled photograph of Elena. Beside it, the words, "She refused to listen." The creepiest discovery was in the closet: mannequins. 4 of them, each resembling someone from the notebook list. Sculpted faces, painted expressions, and realistic hair. The mannequin representing Elena had a cracked face, as though it had been struck. Investigators realized the murder wasn't spontaneous. It was rehearsed, practiced, perfected. But Victor Hale wasn't in the apartment. He had vanished again. Over the next 2 weeks, Crestwood lived in terror. People locked their doors, closed their blinds, and avoided walking alone. Police patrolled day and night. But Victor remained invisible. No cameras caught him. No witnesses saw him. It was as if he melted into the shadows of the town he terrorized. Then, suddenly, everything changed. A call came from a hiker who had discovered a campsite deep in the woods. When police arrived, they found the remains of a temporary shelter. Inside, canned food, torn notebooks, and a final letter addressed to Elena. The letter read, "You were the only one who cared. The only one who tried. They ignored me. They ignored the signs. But you understood. I did what had to be done. And now I follow the list one last time, my own name." Victor Hale's body was found a few meters away, hanging from a tree branch. The case closed. The town exhaled. But no one forgot. No one could forget. Even today, the wall of victims remains a reminder of how obsession, delusion, and darkness can twist a single mind into something monstrous. And Elena Marsh, whose kindness once saved countless lives, became the face of a case so shocking, so disturbing, that it continues to haunt every detective who ever touched it. The case they still call the most disturbing story Crestwood ever knew.